Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Off and running, Hunt Palmer Show here on a Friday, sending you into your Memorial Day weekend. Musso in for Hunt. All right, we're going to have to fix that. I'll just do this first segment without headphones. Musso in for Hunt. Hunt's up in Shreveport, so we're here to send you into your Memorial Day weekend. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali along for the ride as well, and glad to have you here. We got a great show planned. Preston Guy will be here in his normal spot at 1:15. Ryan Brawninger, Tex Ags, he'll be here at straight up 2 o'clock. Preview Texas A&M. Let us know where the Aggies stand as they go into their matchup with LSU tonight in Hoover, Alabama. Of course, I'll give you plenty of thoughts on that game. We'll talk some Saints. We'll talk some LSU football. We will talk it all. Where I want to begin, though, is kind of twofold. One with the SEC tournament, kind of just a primer of where LSU stands heading into their game tonight. With Texas A&M. And, from an NCAA tournament standpoint, what this game might actually mean. Give you a brief update on kind of where A&M stands, LSU's pitch, all of that. Just prime it up. And then again, we'll talk to Brawninger and give you final thoughts. And then I also do want to touch on Charles Alexander having his number retired at LSU this fall. So we'll kind of do a dual open here. Let's start, though, with the SEC tournament. And everyone's talked all week long. What does this mean for LSU? Do they want to win it? Jay Johnson's approach, all of those different things. And Jay Johnson, when he met with the media on Thursday, was once again asked, does having their NCAA tournament fate, national seed, all that stuff seemingly locked up, change their approach in the SEC tournament?
It just validates more of the regular season piece. But for me, it will only change a little bit, like a lot less than people think about how this goes or how we approach it. Like I want to win this tournament because it's a competition. And on top of that, like everything is training for something. And what a great opportunity to play 3 teams that are capable of winning the national championship. So I'd like to have our players have that experience and use it to be able to draw from for what's ahead.
Look, I 100% believe Jay Johnson that he wants to win. Like, that guy is one of the most competitive people that I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he wants to win more than he doesn't want to lose type deal, right? So he absolutely will have the team ready. They will make moves to win, but as he even alluded to later in that press conference, there are certain things that you're not going to do because you want guys fresh for next weekend, because the NCAA tournament is the tournament that everybody wants to win, right? So, yeah, you'll see Cade Anderson on the mound tonight for LSU. I'd be absolutely stunned if you don't. And it's going to mimic what you saw Paul Skeens do in 2023 in this tournament. Skeens threw 88 pitches. Now, Arkansas roughed him up a little bit, so he only got through 3 2/3. If you get 88 pitches out of Cade Anderson and he's being really efficient, that could be 15 outs with a guy like Cade Anderson. And if you can get that, you feel great. Even if you only get 12, you get 4 innings from Cade Anderson in any game you play this year, you're going to have a really solid chance to win that game. Then you look at what A&M's dealing with, whether it be the injuries to Jay Laviolette, to Caden Sorrell, which are just absolutely massive. I mean, absolutely massive to not have those 2 bats in your lineup, which they won't. Both of them, oddly enough, breaking their hand in a week's time. Caden Sorrell broke his hand game 1 against Georgia. That was last Thursday. And then Jay Laviolette yesterday, Thursday, against Auburn. So in a week's time, you lose both those guys to broken bones in their hands. That's just odd in and of itself. But what you're replacing them with if you're A&M, nowhere close to that, because no other team in the country can replace those 2 hitters with anything close. So you add all that in, and yeah, that obviously points advantage LSU. I think LSU being fresh is something, huge coming into this game. And we're all kind of learning this new format of the SEC tournament. And I'll be quite honest with you, I don't really like it. But I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but the reason why, like, you look at it and you go, man, A&M's played 2 games. They should be taxed on pitching. Well, they're not really as taxed as you would think. Like, is Weston Moss thrown? Yeah, and he's really good. But they're playing for their NCAA tournament life. Like, if they need an inning out of Weston Moss, he's going to throw against LSU. If they absolutely have a chance to win that game, and he's their best chance to win, he's going to pitch. Will he extend as much as he has in the past? Probably not. But they still have the luxury of starting their number 3, which in a double elimination tournament, you might not at this point. Like, think about it. You get to Friday in a double elimination tournament, and A&M could be on their fourth game already. So it kind of condenses it all for everyone. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but that kind of speaks to the pitching aspect of it a little bit. When I look at it just from an LSU standpoint, obviously, look, I want to see Cade Anderson go out there, be effective for however long he's in the ball game, stay in routine, and do all those things. I think it's massively important. I would like LSU to win this ball game so they can get Anthony Ianson a start on Saturday. That's always my goal in the SEC tournament, is get your 1 and your 2 a start. And now in a single elimination format, again, another reason to hate it, you have to win in order to do that. But what it really comes down to me as well with is offense for LSU. Because away from home, LSU hadn't been good offensively. And this counts as being away from home. They've played 20 games away from Alex Box Stadium. That includes your 16 true road games and your 4 neutral site. They've averaged 5.5 runs per game. You compare that to the 35 games you played at home and you averaged 9 runs per game, that matters. Now, you scored 15 runs in your last 2 road games against South Carolina. South Carolina's not good. Texas A&M's pitching staff, from a talent standpoint, far exceeds South Carolina. And the last time you faced that staff, you scored 7 runs in 3 games. So can you build off of anything you had against South Carolina and carry it over into this game tonight? That's obviously something huge that I want to see. And then the other part of this is the NCAA tournament. And y'all, I'm just not going to budge on this. LSU is a lock for a national seed. D1 baseball, they released their updated field of 64 today as you head into the weekend of conference tournament. They had LSU as the 5. You'll remember on Monday they had LSU as the 7. Because they thought, okay, this is, committee, what they might do. Kendall Rogers even tweeted out that he would have LSU higher, but they really took into account what the committee might do here. And I fully believe that they're still tapped into that throughout the week, given everything that's happened at conference tournaments. And now you look up, and LSU in D1's projection is the 5th overall seed. So without even playing a game, according to D1 baseball, they've moved up 2 spots on the line. I understand this is not a great RPI opportunity for LSU. I get it, okay? Texas A&M stands at 50 in the RPI right now. And if you lose the game, yes, your RPI will drop a few spots. I don't know how many. We'll say a few instead of a couple. A few spots. And I'm here to tell you it shouldn't matter at all. Because what LSU did over 55 games matters a hell of a lot more, and always should matter a hell of a lot more than 1 game in a single elimination tournament that doesn't actually mean anything for a team like LSU. The 55 game sample you played before that, where you finished top 4 in the toughest league in the country, won 19 games in the toughest league in the country, won 42 in the regular season, matters so much more than what happens on Friday night. And if it doesn't, to the committee, then that's a whole bigger issue that we definitely need to discuss. They already marry themselves to the RPI enough. That would be excessive and ridiculous. So for me, LSU is a lock, regardless of what happens tonight. For me, it's more go out there, get Anderson a start, win, get Ianson a start, pack up and go home. Like that. That's it. Like if you get to Saturday and you get Anthony Ianson a start, after he exits the game, I don't care what happens the rest of the way. I really don't. Like, there's not a fiber of my being that does. So that's really where I stand on the SEC tournament. I'll give you some more later in the show on matchup-wise and things I'm actually looking for LSU as it pertains to them carrying it over into the NCAA tournament and things of that nature. But as far as the SEC tournament goes, for me, you're a lock no matter what you do, because 55 games is way more important than 1 game in a single elimination tournament. And win that so you can get your number 2 a start as well. That's all. Like, that's it. I'm good there. Now, before we grab a break, switching off of that and into a little LSU football, LSU announced that Alexander the Great, man, Charles Alexander, running back in the 70s for LSU, the first 4,000-yard rusher in Southeastern Conference history, will have his number retired this fall in Tiger Stadium. He will join Billy Cannon, of course, Tommy Casanova, Jerry Stovall, all his honorees having their numbers displayed. And, it's interesting because anytime we have the retire the number conversation, it's always the same names that get thrown out. Like, all right, Joe Burrow's 9 needs to be up there yesterday, right? Guy had the greatest season of any quarterback in LSU history, won a Natty, won a Heisman, like all those things. We know how great Joe Burrow was. First overall pick, needs to be up there yesterday. Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner. Yeah, needs to be up there. Absolutely. He's one of 3 in the program's history, needs to be up there. You hear Glenn Dorsey tossed out all the time. You hear Kevin Falk tossed out all the time, and they absolutely deserve it. Rarely, if ever, did you hear Charles Alexander in that conversation, and that's kind of just an oversight on all of us. Because that's a guy who said first 4,000 yard career rusher in SEC history. He was a 2-time finalist for the Heisman Trophy, SEC Freshman of the Year, first-round draft pick. Like, he checked all those boxes. First-team All-American twice. How about this? Capped his LSU career holding 27 school records. Like, if that doesn't warrant the number being retired, nothing else really does. Did he win a national championship? No. But you know what? A lot of great LSU players from 1958 to 2003 didn't. I mean, Kevin Falk is in that conversation. Everyone always throws out having his number retired. This is such a well-deserved and well-earned and overdue honor, quite honestly, for Charles Alexander. And you know what? No, I'm not old enough to have seen Charles Alexander play, but I heard a lot of stories about him. He's one of the first guys you learn about when you learn LSU football. He also incidentally lived next door to my parents for a few years, obviously, definitely before I was born, during his NFL days, but that's a separate aside. But, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, yeah, I heard a lot about Charles Alexander growing up and learning LSU football. So, I mean, just an awesome honor. And one that, as I said, quite honestly, overdue. And, man, shame on us for kind of forgetting about that and not mentioning him in those conversations, when we just gushed over Burrow and Daniels and Falk and Dorsey. And, again, all for great reason. And all of those numbers should be up there, too. But Charles Alexander will take his rightful place up in the rafters, or I guess you want to say the facade, of Tiger Stadium come this fall. And, man, that's going to be a joyous day of celebration. And just well-deserved and well overdue. I mean, guys in like every Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, LSU Hall of Fame, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. He's in all of them. I mean, retire the number, next logical step. So congrats to Charles Alexander on an awesome honor. He in a press release by LSU said he was truly humbled by this, and that he will never forget getting the phone call that his number will be retired. So congratulations to Alexander the Great. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. It's the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Preston Guy joins us on the other side. Stay here.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Family-owned and community-driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Huh. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Welcome back in. Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Musso filling in for Hunt. Hunt's up in Shreveport. Playing a little golf, I hear, which, I mean, man, do you. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. That's what we're all going to do when we get out of here. Preston Guy joins the show every Friday here at Second Segment. He does so now, of course, TigerBait.com. Preston Guy on Twitter at PGuy77. Preston, I feel like you and I have been doing this a lot lately, so great to chat with you again, man. How are you?
Man, I'm just so happy to be here on the Matt Musso Show every Friday. Someone has to work on Fridays, and I guess that's why they call me and you in, right?
Yeah, we draw the short straw there, don't we? Normally on the whole Friday. Preston, I'll tell you, our building over here empty. Like, just there's nobody here. It's 1 o'clock Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, they're long gone.
Is Jonah coming in after this?
Yeah, no, he's here. He's here. He will always be here. Yes, exactly. That guy. Man, sometimes I think he'd rather work than sleep. All right, Preston, let's talk some LSU football. You know, I was perusing Twitter on Thursday night and came across one from you about LSU's running backs and the running game. And you went back from when Brian Kelly got hired and Josh Williams, Logan Diggs, Caden Durham, those are the three that you highlighted because they had the most yards. Obviously, 2 of those years you had Jaden Daniels, and you noted that, man, without Jaden Daniels, you need the metric to improve for LSU in the running game. So my question to you is, we've already seen 1 year without Daniels, and that's Caden Durham, obviously. Now you're replacing everything on the offensive line for starters. why are we to believe that LSU's run game will improve in 2025?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was mostly 4 of the same guys all 3 years. And for Brian Kelly's first 3 years, no running back ran for more than 753 yards. And, of course, Jaden Daniels, of course, the first couple years took a lot of that away from the running backs. But last year, Caden Durham, your leading rusher at 753, not ideal given that basically outside of running backs, your team contributed about 40 yards rushing. You were good for 107th in the country last year in your rushing offense. And, then I look at it, and of the top 20 offenses, the lowest rated rushing offense was 73 in terms of scoring offenses, right? So if you run the ball at least above average, now for the most part, most of these offenses were well into the top 50 on the scoring offenses, but Indiana was as low as 73. If you want to score points, you need to run the ball, right? And you can't be a team ranking in the hundreds and just rely on this pass-happy offense. You need to eventually convert and get those tough yards and get your offense moving at a good rate. I personally believe that reflects more on the offensive line than the running backs that they've had, albeit the running backs have not been great. I don't believe LSU's had a stud running back in the last 3 seasons. I think they've had serviceable, good players back there, but no one who's really, great per se. I think Caden Durham has a good chance to be great this year, and maybe Trey Holly in the mix, who knows, has a chance to do his thing. And then I really like Harlem Berry as a true freshman. So I think this is a good running back room in terms of talent. Maybe not as much depth as they've had the last few years, but I think it's probably the most talented running back room that they've had. And look, nothing in spring suggested that the offensive line will be improved. However, I will suggest that most of the starting offensive line was just the returning guys, and they're clearly waiting to work in all these portal and newcomers that are coming. And I think the newcomers are the ones with the most talent. If anything else, if you just want hope that they will improve in run blocking, just noting that it is 4 different guys than the guys who struggled to block for running backs for the last 3 years. Hopefully that at least makes you feel good. Now, that says nothing about their pass blocking because that unit was elite at pass blocking, but there's your hope if you're looking for some.
With the offensive line, maybe putting them in a different scheme, mixing some different things in, finding what they're comfortable with. I mean, where is LSU really kind of there? Because I don't disagree with you. Like, LSU's had talented enough running backs to put forth maybe you don't have that guy the last 3 years that's going to go for, 1,400 yards or whatnot, but you have guys that you could get to that number with. And the offensive line run blocking last year, it was a disappointment, especially all the talk that we heard about it going into the season. So, I mean, is it more figuring out what they're comfortable with or training them up better?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, you got to have more diverse coaching with these guys. I mean, run blocking and pass blocking are just such opposite moves. A lot of people think that it's a block is a block, and it's literally a pass block. You're going backwards, and a run block you're stepping forward. And I would like to see more physical run game elements added, not as like part of your bread and butter offense. I don't want you lining up on 1st and 10 after the kickoff and running a toss dive every time. However, situationally, I would love to see some counter tray where you got, guards pulling. I'd love to see some situation. And granted, look, pulling last year was not a strength of the offensive line. When they did it, they were pretty bad at it. But I would like to see some under center, maybe a little bit of fullback help for them back there. Just implement a few packages of more power running offense, just situationally, to help you out. One of the things that was frustrating last year was how many RPOs you saw in the red zone, knowing that run option is basically non-existent when it's being called to Nussmeier as the run option, right?
Yeah.
So, I just think that for these short yardage situations, I would like to see that a little more often, you know what I mean, where you're not just reliant on out of shotgun, inside zone kind of stuff.
How much can Juwan Johnson maybe help with that in his package?
I think goal line, that'd be really nice, actually. I really like what I saw out of him in spring. Now, I don't think he's a guy who's going to be out there, reading defenses, like we were talking about right after the kickoff at the 25-yard line. But like Brian Kelly said, he can read a cover zero, and he can pass the ball well enough against man coverage in short yardage situations. Don't expect him to throw some touch on it and get it underneath and throw a dime in the corner of the end zone there. But, in terms of getting him rolling out, he's physical, by the way, too. He's not a thin kid whatsoever. He will lower his shoulder and get it in there. I would love to see you spice up your particularly your goal line stuff, right, with some Juwan Johnson packages. I think that would help out a lot.
Talking with Preston Guy, of course, staff writer, covers LSU football and recruiting over at TigerBait.com. You can get him on Twitter at PGuy77. Realistic expectation for Caden Durham in year two?
Yeah, I don't want to put a number that's too high. I think we all would like to see him be a 1,000-yard rusher, right?
Yeah.
That being said, if he runs for 750, and then you look up and Trey Holly's running for 650, and then Harlem Berry's running for 550, it's like, okay, well, it's not that Caden Durham was bad this year. It's just you had more guys to share. I would like to see your running offense run for, say, 2,500 yards this year. That would put you in the top 25 or near the top 25. Last year, top 25 was 2,700 yards rushing. I would like to see about 2,500 total yards rushing. And if one guy doesn't hit that 1,000-yard mark, so be it. You know what I mean? But you need more out of your second and third guy if your first guy's not going to be a 1,000-yard rusher.
Some of the best rushing seasons LSU's had, have just been the running back by committee approach.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back through the years, especially during the Les Miles time. All right, you mentioned earlier you love Harlem Berry, and everyone seems to love Harlem Berry, not necessarily just from a running game perspective, but how much does he change LSU's offense?
Well, he's a dynamic receiver as well and really nimble with the ball in his hands. Caden Durham probably has more top-end speed, but, Harlem Berry probably is better at accelerating and getting to his top speed. He's very nimble, and understand in 7-on-7, he played wide receiver, and he played wide receiver well. So this is a guy who's going to be a dynamic threat out there. If you can get him in space and use him properly, you're going to have to be a little more creative. I don't think as a true freshman, he's going to be a guy who just takes inside zones and finds the hole, bounces off a tackle. You know what I mean? I think he's going to need some time to develop as a player before he's able to read and find the holes and read his blocks. He's going to need a little more time to develop physically before he's able to shred blocks. That being said, he can move and he can catch. You're going to have to design some ways to get him in space. I think Harlem Berry could be an X factor for this offense this coming season.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a great term, X factor, because he seems like that guy that while everything you said is like, yep, he needs to bulk up a little bit, develop, shed tackles, mature in that part of his game. But you also just look at him and you go, how are you going to keep that guy off the field at certain points? Like, it feels like you're doing a disservice to yourself and your offense, which is wild because of all the talent and speed and agility and everything they have on that side, to not have Harlem Berry out there in some capacity during certain situations. So, I think that's one of the more fascinating things to keep an eye on throughout the summer and obviously the fall and heading into the season is just how they end up using him. Because Brian Kelly's like, he lives up to the 5-star billing. So that's going to be interesting. Switch sides of the ball with me, Preston, if you would, for a minute, because, LSU's worst unit last year were the safeties. I think we all know that. And they've done some extensive retooling there. Bringing in Halsey, bringing in Cooley, returning the guys that you did, young players. What do you think about the depth just in that room right now as they head into summer workouts?
Yeah, let me just rip off a few names, and I think it'd be somewhat agreeable that if this guy turned out to be a pretty good player this year, it wouldn't be shocking, right? Dashawn Spears.
Not at all.
Joel Rogers showed a lot of promise, right?
Yeah.
Then you're talking about Halsey and Jim Coyley. There's 4 names right there where, they ripped off and then an all-conference type season. You'd be like, okay, all right, that made sense. And then you throw in guys like Tamarcus Cooley in there. You throw in guys, Jordan Gilbert, maybe he's improved. I know he wasn't great last year, but he was your starting safety last year, and maybe some of those reps, and he's been able to improve a good bit. I mean, you just kind of get the feel for just how deep that room is just off of what I'm naming. And I'm a big fan of depth, especially for these positions like safety, DB, corner, D-line, that kind of, on defense in general, I guess, is where I'm really a big fan of depth. And there's a lot of it in a lot of these positions, and there's a reason why people are saying this is Brian Kelly's best roster he's had, despite having a team that had 3 first-round draft picks. We forget about it. In fact, in that 2023 offense, we also had Will Campbell, who was a top 5 pick as well. So you had 4 first-round draft picks, and people are still sitting here saying, yeah, this roster's better, though, because you're seeing how good this roster really is.
Yeah. The versatility of the safety room, I don't feel like might be being talked about enough, because, I mean, you bring in a guy like Cooley, it feels like you can get a lot of them on the field at the same time, potentially. You know, Cooley can play nickel as well. They played Dashawn Spears all over the field a year ago. I mean, do you kind of feel that as well, that it's maybe we're not talking about the versatility of that room enough?
Well, and more so than your safety room being versatile, your DB room is versatile.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're not even talking about guys like Mansour Delane, who plays corner primarily. But watch his film. That guy wraps up and tackles. If he needs to go back there and play free safety, I have a lot of confidence. Jakeem Jackson is another guy I could see being very versatile, the transfer from Florida. DJ Pickett is a guy who they're working at corner, but he's got the body. He could play safety. So, yes, there's a lot of versatility. In fact, before you added Halsey, I really thought that they were going to have to move a corner to safety to make it work. Now we'll just see. Maybe there's a little bit of shuffling on both ways, and they just work to find an identity. They certainly have enough talented bodies out there to figure something out. There's no doubt about that.
Much different conversations we're having this season heading in as opposed to 2024. And these are much more fun. I enjoy having these conversations a lot more than the ones this time last year. Preston, we always appreciate the time, man. Y'all get him on Twitter at PGuy77. Read his stuff over at tigerbait.com. I believe Hunt's back next Friday, so you'll be talking to Hunt. Yeah.
No. Well, I'll see you next week for the Musso show.
All right, Preston. We appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
All right, see you soon, Matt.
All right, that is Preston Guy. This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Musso in for Hunt here on a Friday, sending you into your Memorial Day weekend. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, keep the football talk going, but we'll switch to the black and gold. A veteran wide receiver updated the quarterback competition and what he's seen from a couple young guys. We'll let you hear what he said next here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Safety, probably a big deal if you're in the market for a vehicle. If you go shop at Genesis of Baton Rouge, you will know that you're getting behind the wheel of one of the safest cars on the road, because every single model on the line, every single model was a IIHA top safety pick. Some of them were top safety picks plus. So from the entry level to the highest end, you're talking about a car that is among the safest on the road. It's a big, big deal. So you start there, then you go check out the style, the comfort, all those bells and whistles that come with a luxury brand of vehicle. That's all there for you at Genesis of Baton Rouge. And if you make a purchase, every single purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Every single purchase comes with a 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. It's all there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. I invite you to go by and see them. Airline at Pico across from Women's Hospital, or start your process today online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
I don't know if you've heard, the Saints have a quarterback competition going on this offseason. You know, Derek Carr, he retired. Jake Haener just got hurt, so it seems to kind of be down to two for right now, at least through OTAs. And that's Tyler Shuck, your second-round draft pick, and Spencer Rattler, your returning half the season starter. Obviously, I say all of that in jest. All of you have heard about that. It's been really the only storyline surrounding the Saints. Yeah, that's it. I know, Jordan, you're surprised, right?
Derek, I've never heard of that guy.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, who was that?
Well, he played quarterback for the Saints for like technically 2 seasons, but really, if you add it all up, it might be like a season and a third.
If that, I mean,
he retired, and you drafted a quarterback. You have a few old returning, and they're competing to kind of take that position. And with OTAs underway, you're finally really getting to see your first opportunity at all of them in that. And yes, the injury to Jake Haener is a bit of a setback for him, obviously, because he'll miss the rest of OTAs, but he'll be back for training camp. And could he re-enter the competition at that point? Maybe. But if we're being honest, this really kind of always felt like it was Rattler Shuck to begin with. Not to slight Jake Haener. It just, that's the feel that it always had. Interestingly enough, though, we can listen to what Kellen Moore says about it, and he's obviously going to say all the right things because he's the head coach, and he's not going to want to give, too much. And even teammates aren't going to want to do that either. But anytime a veteran player talks about 2 young guys, and I mean, look, Shuck's going to be a rookie, Rattler's going into year 2. They fully meet that definition of young guy, right? Brandon Cooks, who obviously has experience in New Orleans, and for the sake of this conversation, we'll just forget how that experience in New Orleans ended. But he's a veteran who's seen a lot of football, who's played a lot of football, has played with a lot of different quarterbacks in his time, and he met with reporters after the third day of OTAs on Thursday and talked a little bit about the quarterback battle. What I actually found pretty interesting, just kind of first, was he was asked if wide receivers like a quarterback competition in the offseason and in camp.
Absolutely, because I think it should bring the best out of you, and so it's fun seeing those guys compete. They're all 3 of them are having a great spring, and so it's going to be fun to watch that competition.
I just found that interesting because it's something that we never really consider, in all honesty, at least not as much as we probably should. A how the quarterback competition impacts the performance of other guys on the team. And look, I mean, there's certain guys that doesn't like. Chris Olave is going to make the team, right? But for him to say, oh, absolutely, because it should bring out the best in you, that's intriguing because, you're obviously going to have a better rapport with one guy than the other. And with them rotating reps and things, maybe you're not playing with the guy that, you always want there. But Cooks would go on and mention any advice that he would give the young players, in this particular case, quarterback.
I mean, be you. Don't try to do anything outside the box. Be coachable. Do what Kellen's trying to get you to do and lock in and let everything else take care of itself.
One more piece of sound from Cooks, then I'll get more into the thoughts and the meat and potatoes of the segment. He was asked, just his first impression through 3 OTA practices of Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck.
I mean, they letting it go. They playing with a lot of confidence, both of those guys, and you can see the competition going on. They can definitely sling it. So, I look forward to continue to see that grow.
It's important to preface this entire conversation with it is early. Like, it is early in this competition. They've had rookie minicamp, which was just Tyler Shuck, and now 3 practices during OTAs, and all they've really been doing is 7-on-7. You haven't even put the pads on. You probably won't even do that really until training camp. So it's early. But every single one of us, all you listening, me sitting here talking, all of us have our own vision and opinion of how this is going to play out. And look, Kellen Moore noted, they've rotated, and they're going to continue to rotate guys with the ones. On Thursday, it was Spencer Rattler who took reps with the ones, and Shuck ran with the twos. Jake Haener got some reps with the one earlier in the week. Obviously, Tyler Shuck did as well. They're going to continue to move that through, and they should, because it's May. But it's hard for me to sit here and look at this and say, Rattler started 6 games for you a year ago, played in 7. You didn't have a win there. That's not necessarily totally his fault. Your team wasn't very good, and even the players on your team that are good were hurt. And he played behind a makeshift offensive line every week. I don't think in Rattler's time as a starter, he played behind the same offensive line because you just kept having injuries and injuries and injuries. And if he did, it was only a game or 2 that he did because you also had guys come back from injury and then go back out. That matters. You had no Chris Olave. You had no Rashid Shaheed. All of those things, that matters. And that's one of the interesting things about this is whichever guy gets that game 1 start, provided everything goes the way you want it to in camp and everybody stays healthy, you're going to get a good look at that person really for the first time, whether it's Rattler, whether it's Shuck, because you should have your full complement going in. Like, you think I need to see Chris Olave do anything in preseason games? No. Wrap him in bubble wrap, just stick him on the sideline and have him ready to go week 1 when you play the Cardinals. So you can ensure that whichever guy gets the first crack at this starting job has the full complement of weapons. Now, that's kind of a different conversation in and of itself as well, because in a new system, you do need to see that, guys can operate in a game like, atmosphere with it, but you can simulate enough of that in joint practices and things of that nature. So that's really the interesting part. And that takes care of the whole, okay, you never really got a full look at Spencer Rattler. Do you really know what you have there? And I think if you're looking at it objectively, the answer is no, because he did do some good things, even with the makeshift team around him. But again, it's hard for me to look at this and not just go, yes, Rattler's got the experience, and there's no substitute for that. What do you always hear? The best coach a player can have is playing time. It's one of the great cliches in sports, but the reason it's one of the great ones is because it's true. And he's got that at the NFL level. But the thing that I just can't get away from with this, and this would have applied to Jake Haener as well, is they were both drafted by the previous coach. Tyler Shuck is Kellen Moore's guy. That's the guy he liked. Thought enough of him that the Saints spent a second-round pick on him. The first time in their history they've drafted a quarterback in the second round, and only the second time they've drafted one in the first 2 rounds. You've heard that ad nauseum now, but it's worth reiterating for this conversation. You have a guy coming in Kellen Moore who is trying to establish his football team. And for me, even sitting here on May the 23rd, it's just hard for me to get around that idea that it won't be Tyler Shuck getting that first crack because it's the head coach's guy. That's the one he drafted. He likes how he fits into his system. He's going to want to try to go win with his guy. Not to say they're not going to actually, play this out and make it a fair competition or anything like that. I'm sure they will. But again, it's his guy. You see that all the time. Look at Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, they could have retained Jameis Winston. That was Sean's guy. When he was finally able to go get his guy, Derek Carr, didn't that work out great? He went and got him. A guy he drafted back in Oakland and all of those things. Like, that's who Tyler Shuck is to Kellen Moore. So, look, I love hearing Brandon Cooks, a veteran wide receiver, going, man, they're playing with confidence. Like, he would know. He knows what a confident quarterback looks like. They can really sling it. That's great. But the big question is, one of them's actually got NFL experience, but the other one's the head coach's guy. I think track record for head coaches speaks plenty that they go with their guy at least to start, and if it doesn't work out, then you could see somebody else. But one thing's for sure, whoever gets that first snap, you're going to get a good look at them because they should have a full complement of weapons this go-round in a brand new offense. And you should be able to know pretty early how it's going to go. We'll see. Saints will open the season against the Cardinals in the Dome come September. All right, we'll grab a break, come back on the other side, close out hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt McMahon and the Tigers. Always be recruiting. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, ice cubes.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
You gotta believe in the dream. Believe. You gotta believe in the dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Closing out hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Musso in for Hunt. Talk some Texas A&M. The next segment, start hour 2 with Ryan Brawninger from Tex Ags. LSU basketball landed another commitment. This one for the class of 2026. So the current recruiting cycle that the basketball Tigers are in fact, it's the first commitment for the class of 2026, and it's another international player, Australian forward Marcus Vaughn, 6'8", small forward position, commits to the Tigers on Thursday. The last 3 commitments for LSU have been international players. You look at Pablo Tamba in the transfer portal, technically the transfer portal, right? Spain, obviously, Ron Zipper from Israel, as well in the class of 2025. And now Marcus Vaughn's out of Australia. He chose LSU as opposed to the NBL over there in Australia, which just helps develop, elite NBA talent is how they describe it. So, I mean, that's, kind of what you're getting. A guy who has a pretty unique skill set that you would look for in a forward, can rebound, can knock down the three, again, 6'8". But I think it just speaks to the bigger, maybe, kind of trend you're seeing here. I mean, Australia, obviously not a stranger to LSU. I mean, Ben Simmons and obviously assistant coach David Patrick, that relationship, for what it's worth. I mean, Vaughn's told Matthew Bruni of On 3, he's known David Patrick since he was 5 years old. So he played a very heavy part in this one as well. But you kind of knew when you brought Ronald Dupree on that the international scouting was going to take off. And your last 3 coming, from outside of the United States, I think speaks volumes to that. I mean, man, Dupree was the director of international scouting for the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, he's got deep ties. And, look, obviously you're going to want to see the returns on how this looks and how it works before you really judge it. But, I mean, man, early on, I like this approach an awful lot for LSU basketball, because you look at some of the best players in the game and they come from the international ranks. Just think back, to the Olympics and how competitive the basketball was in the Summer Olympics in 2024. There's so much talent, and it's just untapped in the college game that I love that LSU's kind of taking it on full head of steam. Look, we'll see. Obviously, they'll build plenty more around Vaughn's in this 2026 class. Again, he's the first commitment for what it's worth. On 3, has him as a 3-star currently. But, I mean, that's a guy who had opportunities to play professional already in his homeland of Australia and get developed from there and go to the NBA, which they obviously have a track record of doing, and just said no. He's also participated in the NBA's Global Academy already to this point in his career. So you're certainly bringing in a really talented player. You'll wait a little bit. Obviously, he won't be on the floor free this year, class of 26. But it just speaks to the current direction it feels like that LSU recruiting is headed in basketball, and that's international. And, man, I like it an awful lot. We'll see. They'll continue to build that class. All right, that's just about going to do it here for hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hour 2 is next. Ryan Brawninger from Tex Ags joins the show. We'll get a preview of the A&M Aggies.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Property and casualty or group employee benefits. Your one-stop shop for all things insurance is, of course, the Highland Insurance Group. If you're a business owner and you don't have a great relationship with your insurance broker, they're just the guy who came with the lowest premium number, that's one way to handle it, but it might not be the best way, especially when something happens. Whether it's a hurricane or a car accident or a cyber breach or a lawsuit or an injury, when that happens, you're going to need your insurance to respond. And if you only have the insurance in place because it was the cheapest one, it may not. Jonathan Carver and his team can be a trusted advisor and a part of your team as a business to make sure that your business continues to run even if the event happens. Give them a call or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide. It's Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority.
This is SportsCenter.
A crucial game, too. I'm Chris Smith. After the wild comeback by the Pacers that led to a 138-135 victory over the Knicks in overtime in Game 1, First Take host Stephen A. Smith says after a loss, the Knicks are a perfect 4-0 this postseason, and the players respond well.
After a loss, Jalen Brunson has averaged 33 on 50% shooting from the field and 8.5 assists. After a loss, Mikal Bridges has averaged 22.5 points on 58% shooting from the field. After a loss, OG Anunoby has averaged 21.8 points on 38% shooting from three. After a loss, Karl Anthony Towns has averaged 21.3 points, also with 11.5 rebounds.
The Knicks will have to show they can come back from a devastating defeat that Milwaukee and Cleveland couldn't in the previous 2 rounds. Game 2 coverage begins 7:30 Eastern right here on ESPN Radio. On the ice, the Oilers looked to even up their series with the Stars, 8 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN+. On a baseball, where the Braves have officially activated Ronald Acuna Jr. from the injury list ahead of their series opener against the visiting Padres. The former MVP has not played in the majors since tearing his ACL almost 1 year ago.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Off and running, hour number 2 of The Hunt Palmer Show. Musso filling in for Hunt as he takes Memorial Day weekend up in Shreveport. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali along for the ride, and glad you are as well. LSU and Texas A&M tonight from the Hoover Met. It'll be the Aggies' 3rd game. It will be the Tigers' first in this new single elimination 16-team format. For a better look at the Aggies and where they stand after those 2 games, we go to TexAgs.com and Ryan Brawninger. You can get him on Twitter or X at @R_Brawninger. Ryan, we appreciate you taking the time, man. How are you?
Good, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Let's start just kind of looking back before looking at tonight's game. A&M, they know what they have to accomplish in this tournament this weekend. It's pretty much win the whole thing. So far, 2-0. What's kind of the vibe around the team and what's worked for them here in those first 2 games?
Well, through the first 2 games in Hoover, and really if you look at the majority of the season, A&M has pitched really well. Mm-hmm. And they're not an elite staff in terms of stuff like LSU is or Arkansas or even Georgia and Vanderbilt. But they've thrown the ball over the plate. Their defense against batted balls has been much better since it was to start the season. And so they've done a really nice job of kind of limiting crooked numbers. They have pitched well in high leverage situations. And so when you look at what A&M's done at Hoover, that's been the biggest story. They've gotten some big hits, some big home runs, but really the way they've thrown the baseball off the pitcher's mound, to me, has been the biggest story.
Should be Miles Patton tonight, yes. I believe Michael Early did announce that. So LSU's seen him once. Of course, everyone's expecting Cade Anderson to go for LSU. Where do you kind of fall on that, Ryan? Because each team has seen the opposing pitcher. Is that advantage pitcher or advantage hitter in that situation?
Anytime you're throwing Cade Anderson, it's advantage whichever Cade Anderson. I don't know, man. Like, it'll be interesting to see kind of how each pitcher navigates this game compared to the games they threw in College Station not too long ago. But no, man, and we got asked this morning if it's a benefit for A&M having played 2 games compared to LSU's coming in fresh. I don't know how you kind of in this point in the season. I don't know if there's an advantage either way, and especially again, like Cade Anderson, such a. You got me?
Oh yeah, I got you. You were saying Cade Anderson.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought I cut out. But yeah, the time Cade Anderson throwing is a huge advantage to LSU. And so A&M's got their work cut out for them. He pitched very, very well in College Station. probably deserved to win that game against the Aggies, and he did it against a fully loaded A&M lineup. I say fully loaded, but had Caden Sorrell, had Jace Laviolette, obviously no Gavin Grahovic, but he did it with two guys who will not be in the lineup tonight or for the foreseeable future for the Aggies. With just, I mean, they've been the architect of their own demise on some level with this season. But man, the injury luck for A&M has just been brutal all season long.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to come back. We'll come back to Sorrell and Laviolette, but it's crazy. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. The hand injury to Sorrell happened the Thursday game against Georgia, and then in a week you lose Laviolette to, I mean, almost the same injury, another hand injury. So that's crazy to think about. A couple more on the pitching, just for a refresher. What can LSU expect to see from Miles Patton tonight?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of strikes, high pitchability kid, good feel for the breaking ball and the change up. And then he wants to go to that heater in and heater up late in counts, especially to right-handed hitters. It's not all that dissimilar to Justin Lampton. In fact, they're different in stature and different in arm slot and release height and all that kind of stuff. But how they attack hitters with their arsenal is very similar from game 2 to game 3 for A&M. And Miles, he was going good against LSU, and it got sideways on him in one inning, kind of out of nowhere. But he's been rock solid for A&M in that game 3 role. And the Aggies have had their fair share of issues within the game of baseball this year, but pitching has really not been one of them. Just like every other team, they go through ups and downs with it. But for the vast majority of the season, Jason Kelly's pitching group has been really, really solid. And how many times do you ever see this in college baseball, regardless of the caliber of the team? A&M has had the same 3 starting rotation in the same order all season long. That never happened.
That is incredibly rare. I always say it, Ryan, as much as we always talk about you need 3 starters, it's so rare that a college baseball team actually ever has 3 starters, and you've seen plenty of success without. But that's crazy. This will be his 15th start, so 15 weeks, same 3. That's pretty awesome. Speaks to consistency of those 3 guys as well. Bullpen, where do the Aggies stand in the bullpen after 2 games in Hoover?
Yeah, I think the only guy that you may have questions about running out there today would be Weston Moss, who's been their best bullpen arm. He threw 34 pitches yesterday against Auburn, and that's typically not a number where you worry about a guy coming back the next day. But for you and your listeners that may not know, Weston Moss has been battling mono throughout the season. So he took a big dip in his overall stuff, and then the results kind of went along with that in about the middle of SEC play. But he had an outing against Texas where it was clearly he was not himself. And then kind of right after that, it comes out that, yeah, he's been really, really sick and was good in that weekend against LSU. But he's just, mono is not one of these deals like the common cold where, hey, once you get over it, you're back to healthy. This thing kind of lingers. And so I just wonder about his availability tonight after throwing 34 pitches yesterday. But outside of that, the Aggies should have every option available to them.
All right, let's switch over to the offense. And said we'd come back to Sorrell and Laviolette, so here we are. And it's not a question of their importance. We all understand their importance. They're 2 of the best hitters in college baseball. What I think everyone's more interested in is what path do the Aggies go to even attempt to replace that production in their lineup?
Well, you're going to see some guys that haven't played much, and Sawyer Farr is a true freshman. Who's an infielder by trade that's had to go to the outfield with all the injuries. I would imagine he's going to start in left field. They'll move Terrence Kill II into center field, which he's had a sensational freshman year and looks like one of the bright young stars in the league. And then they're going to play Jamal George, who's a transfer utility player out of Alabama State. Can play infield. He catches. He plays some outfield. And that's just it's crazy to me that you sit there and we all do this heading into baseball seasons in January and heading into February. You start making lineups and potential defensive, what that could look like, the alignments, the substitutions. And I can tell you this, myself nor Mike Early anticipated having to start 2 true freshmen and a utility player in the SEC tournament against LSU with a chance to go to the semifinal and your season on the line. Yeah. But that's where they're at.
Do you think they have to win the whole thing, or is getting to Sunday enough?
I would think getting to Sunday would be enough. And, the funny thing is, we were talking about it on Texag's radio show this morning. Is the Missouri series is the killer, right?
Yeah.
And you can't just take it away because it's a massive hole in your resume, and it will probably be the reason why. Not probably, if you don't make it the tournament, it'll be the reason why you don't make the tournament. But if you look at what A&M has done outside of that Missouri series, since they go to Knoxville, man, the resume is pretty good. You have a series win against LSU, Arkansas, and Tennessee. You drop the series against Texas where all three games were within one run. You go to Georgia, and you're one swing away from winning the series against Georgia. Like, you've played like one of the top teams in the league, except for one weekend at home against the worst team, one of the worst SEC teams we've ever seen. And it's really hard to wrap your brain around what happened and what goes on within a clubhouse and a dugout for that weekend against Mizzou to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, A&M's comfortably in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the stretch before Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, those series wins. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Ryan, two of them were on the road. I mean, going to Knoxville, going to Fayetteville, it's not easy places to play. They went in there, ruled the Vols. I mean, it looked like, okay, wait, there's the team we all expected. And then, I mean, three games in College Station against Mizzou, and it was gone like that. I have a couple more for you, and your time's appreciated. Ryan Brawninger, TexAgs. You can get him on Twitter X at @R_Brawninger. If there is a blueprint tonight for A&M to advance and knock LSU out, I mean, what is that given their current situation?
Well, the one thing I think is if you're going to be glass half full and look at the sunny side of this thing for A&M is that you're playing an LSU team that, just like Texas A&M, for large swaths of their offense, they like to hit the ball hard in the air. That's what A&M recruited to. Tennessee does it. Arkansas does it. You recruit that because your ballparks play that way for the majority of the spring. It's exactly how I would build a roster in college baseball. Build it out to benefit your home ballpark so that you can win enough that you never have to leave your home ballpark on your way to home. But what LSU does well doesn't play well typically at the Hoover Met. And we've seen it all week. It's like you've got to really kind of hammer it low and hard to the corner outfield spots to get it out of there. So A&M is playing without their premier power guys in Grahovic, Sorrell, and Laviolette. And they're playing in a yard, though, that it's a little bit negated where the big gap is now for LSU with, headlined by Bear Jones and the rest of the middle of that Tiger order. It's a little bit minimized, again, if you're looking through maroon-tinted glasses by the size of the ballpark and how it plays. So I think A&M, the path to victory tonight is going to have to look something like 4-3, 5-3 maybe if you're lucky against Cade Anderson. But that's kind of like the area you're looking at. A pathway to win to A&M is that Miles Patton pitches well and you hand it to a refreshed bullpen, and then you somehow, maybe you run into a 3-run homer like Caden Kent did yesterday, and that may be enough to stand up in that ballpark.
One more for you, Ryan, more big picture. Because, I mean, look, for us outside looking in, it's easy for us to all speculate and looking at the season that A&M had. I mean, y'all over at TexAgs, y'all cover the program better and closer than anybody. What is kind of the vibe around Michael Early here, year one, with all the expectation that was there, how the season has gone, and it's either going to continue or end this week? Is he feeling pressure?
Yeah, I think the fan base is pretty split. As a matter of fact, our message board, there's, as such things happen, when somebody has a really staunch opinion, definitive opinion one way or the other, then it gets rebutted and talked about for days and days, and that's kind of what's going on in our world over here. But, you see both sides of it. I'm of the opinion that he should get another year. Just the injuries, man. Like, take Derek Curiel, Bear Jones, and Monster Milam out of LSU's team, and what do you got?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know that life.
And that's, and then take out, because, people don't talk about it, but they also lost their closer. He threw one-third of an inning this year before he tears his ACL on the mound. And so take out the Cohen kid, too, on LSU's back end. So, like, there's not a team in college baseball that can withstand the injuries that A&M's faced. And it's funny is if you go back the last 12 months, you're looking at Grahovic, Sorrell, Laviolette, and Braden Montgomery, all season-ending injuries. Those are 4 first-rounders. No doubt they're 4 first-rounders. So I think, if you hired Mike early because you thought he was the next Tony Vitello or whoever you want to say, you thought he was a really good young coach, then I think you have to see that through if that was your thought process. And behind, obviously, he's brought back a lot of the players, but if you think the guy's going to be a really good coach one day, I think he needs more than 12 months to prove it.
Well said. He is Ryan Brawninger, TexAgs.com, on Twitter, X at @R_Brawninger. Ryan, appreciate the chat, man. Enjoyed it, and hopefully we can do it again soon. Enjoy the baseball and have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You as well, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, that is Ryan Brawninger. This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Musso in for Hunt on Friday. We're presented by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, talk some LSU football. Is there one player being slept on a little much in your defensive backfield? We'll talk about that next here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC, Pearl Jam, and the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac. Our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
All right, welcome back in. Hunt Palmer Show here on a Friday. Musso filling in for Hunt. Hunt's back on Tuesday. Remember, we're all off on Monday. Well, except for Jimmy and Charles. But the rest of our lineup, we're off on Monday, back Tuesday. We're going to observe the Memorial Day holiday. So when we return, Hunt will be back in the chair as normal. When anyone talks about LSU football right now, heading into 2025, it carries a lot of expectation. And the reason for that is they completely revamped the roster. LSU has had a talent deficiency, specifically on defense, the last 2 seasons. And that's where, in signing this number 1 transfer portal class, you really saw them attack. Yes, you brought in some nice offensive weapons, Bowers, Sharp, Nick Anderson, Barry and Brown. Like you brought in guys, a couple offensive linemen, but where you really saw them go hard was on defense, because that's where you lacked the most. You saw them bring in 3 awesome edge rushers. And then in the defensive backfield, they really took onus on that and revamped things. And it was easier because specifically at safety, which we're really going to focus in on here, you were losing a lot. Major Burns was out of eligibility. Sage Ryan transferred. Kylan Jackson transferred. Like a lot of your guys there, they were out. So you weren't returning a whole bunch anyway, so you needed to go do it. And you bring in Tamarcus Cooley, you bring in AJ Halsey. We were talking with Preston Guy earlier. You even bring in a guy like Mansour Delane who could play corner or safety. You bring in a lot of guys with a lot of versatility that can impact your team. And from a talent standpoint, immediately make you better and improve your roster. Like that's been the whole conversation. And rightfully so. But there is one guy who I look at in the defensive backfield and specifically the safety position that I go, man, are we all kind of sleeping on him? And it's Dashawn Spears. Blake Baker was a guest on Off the Bench with Jacob Hester on, I guess that would have been Wednesday. And he was asked this question about younger guys who they really saw step up and kind of even become leaders and whatnot during spring and things of that nature. And he went through 4, and one of them was PJ Woodland, and it was a quick blurb. The other, Devon Keys, just a quick, we're challenging him type deal. Gabe Relaford, he mentioned, and kind of went a little bit more in depth. But the longest part of that answer was about a minute long in total. The longest part of that answer was when he talked about Dashawn Spears.
Dashawn Spears, I've been very vocal about there was nobody harder on Dashawn Spears than me last year. And that's just because of the potential that young man has, and to see him starting to really break through this spring, not only from a tackling standpoint, a physical standpoint, his leadership out on the back end, he had a really outstanding spring.
Blake Baker, no one was harder on him a year ago than he was. Talks about the improvements in tackling and all that, even the leadership. That's great. But the part of that is the potential. When he talks about the potential that Dashawn Spears has. It's easy when you bring in everything that you did to forget that you have a guy in Dashawn Spears who's 6'3", 205 pounds, was the number 3 safety in America coming out of Denham Springs in the class of 2024. Sitting there. And I'll give you a little bit more context on why, if you're looking at someone to potentially break in to that safety room this year, why it could be Dashawn Spears. He's got the experience. So we mentioned all the guys you lost. Even before that, When you looked at LSU safety room, Dashawn Spears a year ago played the fourth most snaps. You really settled into that rotation with Burns, Sage Ryan, and Jordan Gilbert. Like, you settled on those guys when you got into the meat of the SEC and you went forward. But there was Dashawn Spears right behind them at 205 defensive snaps. Over 300 if you count what he did on special teams in his first year. He played in 13 games for LSU a year ago. When you look outside of Jordan Gilbert of what you're returning, and yes, Joel Rogers had a great spring, really flashed. Javian Toviano, same deal. And without Jordan Gilbert there, they all got a lot of run. But when you look at those guys, the only one with the actual experience from a year ago is Dashawn Spears. Just looking at that, you would think, okay, yeah, it makes sense. He might be the next guy in line, and maybe he should be. Then you get into actual performance from Spears, and he graded out great as a run blocker per Pro Football Focus. But when you get just into grades as a whole, looking at LSU safety room from a year ago, and you kind of just you take them all, you ignore the snap count, Dashawn Spears is your highest graded returning safety. Not Jordan Gilbert, not Javian Toviano, it's Dashawn Spears. The grade's not going to jump off the page at you. It's 61. It's not great. But the other guys that got some run, and I should preface with Jordan Gilbert, obviously he was playing through injury all of last year, so much so that he had an off-season procedure, and he's going to be back for camp. I had to get that right. Like, he was playing through something that needed a procedure. But I think that speaks volumes. And again, you could say, okay, well, the performance on the field, what did it look like? And I think there's two different ways to look at it. You could see early in the season, Dashawn Spears played a lot. Against South Carolina, against UCLA, South Alabama, when they were still feeling it out. Remember how they worked with the safeties, right, with LSU? It was, they rotated them all in to really see who they had, and they settled on their guys before SEC play started. So Spears got a lot of run in those games. I mean, he was playing 40, 50 snaps in those games. The grades weren't great. When you got later into the season and he started getting into some of those SEC games, two of his highest graded games this year are Nicholls, Texas A&M, and Alabama. So later in the year, when you continue to give him run, okay, and it limited snap counts. He played 13 snaps against Alabama. He played 8 against Texas A&M. And they were mainly in the run game. But the grade improved. And again, like I said, there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it and be like, okay, yeah, well, when he played earlier in the year and actually got extended run, he wasn't very good. And that's true. And you could look at the other part and be like, yeah, when he played in those SEC games, it was probably those games kind of got out of hand. It was maybe just in mop-up duty. What's he really going against? That is one way to look at it. If you want to take more of a glass half full look at it, you could say, yeah, the grades weren't great early in the season when he played a bunch, but those were like the first 4 or 5 games of his college career. There's going to be an adjustment period there regardless of who you play. And then no matter what the role was, when he got in there against better competition, it did improve. That shows growth from the reps he was getting in practice and even in games going forward. That's more the glass half full look. The one thing I will say, though, is that guy's extremely talented. He's got immense untapped potential, so much so that as a true freshman, he played the 4th most defensive snaps on your team for a safety. And now you have that guy coming back and a defensive coordinator like Blake Baker who is excellent at putting his players in the positions they need to be successful. You've seen many players develop in his system when he's talking about how hard he is on that guy, how much he's challenging that guy because he knows how good he can be. And that's in May, before you even get through summer workouts and fall camp. Yeah, I look at Dashawn Spears as a guy who could potentially break into this room. Blake Baker wasn't done. He talked about, or I should say, Jacob Hester asked him, is the safety room the most wide open room on the field because of everything that you've added?
great mix of old and young. When you look at Jordan Gilbert, you look at A.J. Halsey, those two guys playing a lot of snaps. Then you got Toviano, who's kind of bounced around in the secondary, but I thought he had a really good spring. Dashawn Spears is a young guy. Mansour can go back there. Tamarcus Cooley, he had a really good spring, who's a sophomore. So I think that room is really improved from a personnel standpoint here in the last 6 months, and I cannot wait to see them on the field.
And we talked about it earlier in the show. The depth of the safety room and your defensive back room as a whole. Like LSU has the ability to get multiple guys on the field at a time out of the guys they've brought in. And look, don't get me wrong. Like A.J. Halsey's playing a huge role on this team. You bring him in, he's immediately the highest graded safety on your team. Immediately. Same with Tamarcus Cooley. Those two guys, they're going to play. Jordan Gilbert's going to play. But you played Dashawn Spears all over the field last year. At free, in the box, at slot. Like, you played him everywhere to see kind of where he fit best. Tamarcus Cooley can play nickel. Like, you can maneuver things around and potentially find a way to get him on the field. And if he gets on the field and shows what he's built on, then there's no reason not to believe that by November or so, he hasn't potentially broken his way into this safety room and into the rotation and is playing meaningful reps for LSU. And I think that's honestly one of the best case scenarios for LSU, because that's an extremely talented guy with a lot of potential that can absolutely help you if the improvement takes and if he can bring that to the field. And I think he might just be flying under the radar a little bit too much because of everything that you've brought in and the talent that you've brought in. And I get it. But don't forget about the kid who was the number 3 safety in America, just sitting there, working hard and waiting for his opportunity. I think that opportunity comes at some point in 2025, and I can't wait to see if he takes advantage of it. Because what we all thought about Dashawn Spears when he signed with LSU, that he could be the next great safety, I think all that still holds true. We'll get our answer come fall in 2025. Tigers open the season, obviously, against Clemson on August the 30th. All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other show. On the other side, final thoughts on LSU and Texas A&M at the Hoover Met. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Safety, probably a big deal if you're in the market for a vehicle. If you go shop at Genesis of Baton Rouge, you will know that you're getting behind the wheel of one of the safest cars on the road, because every single model on the line, every single model was a IIHA top safety pick. Some of them were top safety picks plus. So from the entry level to the highest end, you're talking about a car that is among the safest on the road. It's a big, big deal. So you start there, then you go check out the style, the comfort, all those bells and whistles that come with a luxury brand of vehicle. That's all there for you at Genesis of Baton Rouge. And if you make a purchase, every single purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Every single purchase comes with a 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. It's all there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. I invite you to go by and see them. Airline at Pico across from Women's Hospital, or start your process today online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
LSU and Texas A&M from the Hoover Met tonight, 6:30 p.m. Central, scheduled first pitch. LSU will open up their stay in Hoover at the SEC tournament. Of course, single elimination, winner go home. Plenty on the line for Texas A&M. LSU, they're looking to keep guys in routine, win, and go as far as they can, knowing that they have just about everything they need locked up for the NCAA tournament that will start next week on Friday, a week from today, as a matter of fact. Anytime you play a team a second go-round in a season, in any sport at any level, those teams are different the second time around. There's one instance where I think A&M is the same, because there's plenty that's different because of injury, because of what they have left from a pitching standpoint. But there's one instance where I think they are the same. When you look at when LSU went to College Station, where that A&M team was, they were super hot. They had belief that they were going to turn around from that awful start, the 1-8 start in conference play. They were going to make the NCAA tournament. They had already beaten Tennessee in a series. They had beaten Arkansas. And then LSU's coming in. You know what? They beat LSU too. Then the debacle against Missouri happens, and all of that just goes up in smoke. But now you look, they took a game off Georgia. They've won 2 games in the SEC tournament, and they just beat Auburn, and they've made it all the way to Friday. And there's probably a little bit of belief there. They're pitching well. So that makes A&M a dangerous team, is the belief. Now, there are just advantages that LSU has in this game that are inarguable. One of them is Cade Anderson going up against Texas A&M's number 3. And look, LSU's offense was not good in that series in College Station. They were bad, as a matter of fact. They scored 7 runs over the course of 3 games. I don't care who you're facing on the mound. That's just, in college baseball with metal bats and all of that's inexcusable. But the guy you had the most success against was Miles Patton. All 7 of the runs you scored came off the starting pitchers. 4 of them came off of Patton. But it was concentrated. You didn't just constantly have pressure on it. Texas A&M could get 6 innings out of Miles Patton to get on Friday night, they're going to be ecstatic about that. I'm real curious to see what kind of adjustments LSU can make, because that's a guy who's going to be in the zone. Like sitting back, waiting, trying to run the pitch count up, it's not really the way against Miles Patton. And that's something that LSU loves to do. The guy has walked 16 in over 70 innings pitched this year. He's going to throw it over the plate, and you have to be ready to hit. You might not always be in an advantage count in this ballgame, just like you weren't in College Station. The one thing in common there is you're still away from home. We touched on this in the first segment. LSU, in 20 games away from Alex Box Stadium this year, has averaged 5.5 runs per game. You compare that to the 35 they played at home when they averaged 9 runs per game. The offense just hasn't traveled. Now, in your last 2 games against South Carolina, you scored 15 runs total. Can that travel over to Hoover? I think it's possible, but there's a few key things that need to happen. Number one, let's see what Derek Coryell's got. Because starting in that A&M series is where you really saw the struggles for Coryell against left-handed pitchers ratchet up. He saw 3 lefty starters, and he saw a few out of the bullpen. He went 1 for 9 that weekend, and those troubles against lefties really followed him the rest of the season. He struggled against Arkansas's left-handed pitchers, struggled against South Carolina's, but the interesting thing was in game number 2 against the Gamecocks against Jake McCoy, he started to make hard contact. He only punched out once in 5 ABs, and the contact was loud, even against the lefty. And then the next day when he was facing righties, he mashed out 3 hits. Can the hard contact against Jake McCoy inspire some confidence against left-handed pitching? And let's see if Derek Coryell can't kind of refine the form he had when he was hitting 380 on the year heading into that series against Texas A&M. You don't hit 380 just off of righties for an entire season. Like, that's not your average. Like, he's had success. That needs to return because you need Derek Coryell to be the Derek Coryell he was for the first 2/3 of this year for you in the postseason. Of course, you want to see Stephen Milam break out. Absolutely. But I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to tell you need Jared Jones and Danny Dickinson to continue what they've done the last couple of weeks, specifically Dickinson. Danny Dickinson is your hottest hitter heading into the postseason right now. 7-game hitting streak. That's the longest one on the team. He's hitting 370 in that streak. He's mashed a couple homers. He has been just a menace at the plate. He's drawn so many walks as well. He's just getting on base. He's also got the longest on base streak currently on the team, 12 games. You need to see him continue to do that. Because what that's going to do is it's only going to elevate Jared Jones because Dickinson hits behind him in the lineup. He's the protector. And Dickinson just continuing that success over the weekend at South Carolina absolutely helped Jared Jones hit over 400 that weekend. And Jones came up with big swings in big moments of that series. And you need those two going at their height of their potential when you get into postseason play, which is here now, specifically the regionals. So can they continue to go in the SEC tournament the way they did down the stretch and carry that over? That's something I want to see tonight in the ballgame. And then there's Cade Anderson. And look, I wouldn't think Anderson's going to go past 90 pitches tonight. But if he's moving and efficient, you could get 15 outs on those 90 pitches. And that would leave you in a great spot. Because what it comes down to for me in this game is I don't know how A&M's going to score runs without Caden Sorrell and Jay Slavielette. When they had those two guys in the lineup against LSU, they went a combined 3 for 24. They got you in the 8th inning on Sunday. That stunk. You lost the series because of that. But you had chances well before that to win the series. You handled them fine. Great even. You had a great plan and you executed it perfectly. Now those guys are out of the lineup. And we were talking to Ryan Brawninger earlier and he mentioned Sawyer Farr. Sawyer Farr is hitting 198 on the year. He mentioned Jamal George. Jamal George is hitting .238 on the season. That's what you're trying to replace Caden Sorrell and Jay Laviolette with. And you're going to be doing it against Cade Anderson, who might be the best pitcher in college baseball. Might be. I just don't know how A&M scores enough to win the ballgame. Cade Anderson threw 6 innings, a 1-run ball, and punched out 12 back in the first weekend of May in College Station. And again, that was with Sorrell and Laviolette in the lineup. You going to get 6 innings from Anderson? No. But you'll get something out of him. And he should have plenty of success. It's up to LSU to start fast offensively and then let your bullpen carry it the rest of the way home. The other thing I will say is I think LSU wins this ball game tonight. And here's one reason why. You think that team forgot what happened in College Station in the first week of May? Because I don't. LSU lost that series. Texas A&M did not win it. LSU lost it. Ryan Bronninger said the same thing when he was here earlier. That LSU felt like they probably should have won that game against A&M first game when Anderson pitched. You misplayed a couple balls in center field. You had a runner thrown out at the plate. All of those things. They lost. You were leading 4-2 in the 8th and had Cowan on the mound. Like, you couldn't have felt any better place. Jay Johnson's not going to say it. He's going to give you the whole 56-game playoff, take one game at a time, not using that as motivation, all of that. That's fine. I don't even know. He probably hadn't talked to the team about that. But you know what? He doesn't have to because they remember, and I think they absolutely want revenge over that team. So I think you're going to see a really motivated LSU team come out Friday night and play against Texas A&M, and I think they get the job done. They're fresher, they're healthier, and they're hungry too. LSU's hungry too. Make no mistake about it. So I think LSU gets the win. You're able to get Ianson a start. And as I said at the end of the show, excuse me, at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it again here at the end of the show, I don't really care what happens after Anthony Ianson exits the game on Saturday. After that, you get run ruled. I don't care. Pack your bags, come home. I just want those two guys to stay on normal rest and go through their routine and get their opportunity. And that's much harder to do now in a single elimination bracket. But I do like LSU to win the game tonight. Please tune into Musso at the Box after the game goes final. We'll have a post-game show, live reaction, take some questions, all of those things, set up whatever's next for LSU, whether it's a game Saturday against either Arkansas or Ole Miss, or whether we're looking forward to the selection show already. We'll do all of that tonight on Musso at the Box post-game. So please, if you would, tune in and subscribe. Let's grab a break, come back, close it out with some Take It or Leave It.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Whenever I say remodel, you might think, oh, that's a huge project, going to cost a fortune, going to take forever, have to leave my home. Well, that stuff can happen, but that's not really what we're talking about here. To further that point, let's just talk about something simple like a tub to shower conversion. That's not massively expensive. That's not super invasive. That's not super time consuming. It's a simple process that can be done if your bathtub is not used, if it's old and dingy, if it's not functional. You take that bathtub out, put in a glass walk-in shower. It changes the aesthetic, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds value to your home. David Vaughn and his team can help you with it every step of the way. They handle everything. You don't call him and then call the guy to handle this part, and this guy handles the floor. And one contractor, one call. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation and get that process started today. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online. onebathandclosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Final segment here on The Hunt Palmer Show as we send you off into Memorial Day weekend. Let's do it with some Take It or Leave It. Take it away, Jordan.
I'll take it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Jordan, what we got?
All right, Moose, I got you right here. So let's start it off with everybody's favorite team, well, Hunt's favorite team, the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Cincinnati Bengals didn't want to give former Saint All-Pro defensive end Trey Hendrickson a new contract. So instead, what they did was they drafted his replacement with the 17th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, and Shamar Stewart, who currently is the only first-round pick who is still unsigned with a new contract. So, are the Bengals the cheapest organization in the NFL? Take it or leave it.
I don't know if they're the cheapest. I think I'll leave it they're the cheapest because they did pay Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
They paid their offense and neglected Trey Hendrickson, which is baffling because, I mean, their defense was the issue a year ago.
Without a doubt.
You got to kind of shore that up. The Shamar Stewart pick, I mean, I think they'll ultimately sign him. If he pans out, I don't really know. But that they're the cheapest, I'll leave that.
Okay. But I'm just getting at, you drafted the guy's replacement and still can't sign him? What's going on here? You know,
I mean, they'll get it done. I mean, he's out there at minicamp and OTAs.
He's a hold-in, which is
but they'll get it done.
Okay, so moving on. Boise State AD rips the college football bracket format after a rule change to the straight seeding. Jeremiah Dickey tweets, "Please call it the Boise State policy. Legacy is important. Who would make us feel better? When the system is created to keep you down, you fight like hell to break it. Nothing to lose, always what's next. Believe in epic, 1-0, hashtag bleed blue." Does Dickey have a reason to complain about the format change, basically saying that they're blackballing Boise State now?
No, he does not. He has no reason to complain. He's lucky they're in the playoff. They got a bye last year.
Yes.
What happened in the game?
Got killed.
They got run off the field.
Yes. And
he has no reason to complain. They didn't take your spot away. They took your bye away because you didn't deserve it in the first place. You got destroyed. Like every group, like Cincinnati did when they got put in a 14 playoff. They got destroyed.
Desmond Ridder.
That's what's going to happen in the group of five.
Yeah.
Just be glad you can be in the playoff. That's what you want. You want participation. You have participation. Suck it up.
I guess he just feels like, I don't know what he feels like, because everybody outside of Idaho knew Penn State was going to steamroll Boise State.
Yes, and they did.
And they did. Literally, they did. So, hey, man, he wants it to be the Boise State policy. I guess he's just one of those people that want to be etched in history.
Arizona State got a bye. They lost.
They
you don't
say
hear
nothing.
them complaining?
Don't hear them complaining at all. Everybody wants to be
Fall
seen,
in line, man. Fall in line.
So that's a little bit of take it or leave it for today.
All right. That's going to wrap up the show here just about as we send everybody off into Memorial Day weekend. Remember, we are also observing Memorial Day, so we are off on Monday. Jimmy and Charles are doing their show live at lunch from 11 to 1. Sorry, Jordan. But so they'll be on, but OTB, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR, we're all taking the day as well. Enjoy and observe. And, you know, pay tribute to our servicemen and women who help us, you know, be able to live these freedoms and have this 3-day weekend. So wish all of you, obviously, a happy and healthy and safe Memorial Day weekend. We're back here on Tuesday with our normal lineup. Jordan, thank you. Cassie, thank you. All of you listening, thank you as well. Enjoyed filling in. Always do. LSU and A&M tonight from the Hoover Met. Y'all enjoy the baseball and have a great Memorial Day weekend.
The Hunt Palmer Show.